Oh, you don't want to move your cars? I'll tow it then. Senior in college in the US here. I live in a townhouse development 4 bedrooms per unit with limited parking, only 2 spots per unit, plus a bunch of overflow parking for residents that's a bit of a walk. We got a good snow recently, so people have been getting pretty lazy about parking in the resident spots since they don't want to hike through the snow. Which is understandable. They're your spots, do what you want. The issue is my next door neighbors never drive their cars anywhere still covered in snow several days out, and they have let their friends use my unit spots for a while. Not to mention the obnoxious parties they've thrown during the pandemic with 20 to 30 people. But that's a different matter. This has never been a huge deal. We ask them on occasion to move their cars and they do, and it's been pretty chill. Since the snow, people have been very haphazard and lax about moving their cars for when friends come over. Which means my roommates and I, who each have a car, so 4 cars for 2 spots, have at most had 1 spot open for us to park in. It's been a pain, and then the next door neighbors have been way worse about leaving space for people, and don't move their cars when we ask anymore. Today I was minding my own business and studying with the window cracked open, and one of their friends pulled into our parking spot, and one of said neighbors went out to say hi. Like I said, my window was open, and she proceeds to tell her friend that it's okay. They don't care and they won't tow you in the next 20 minutes anyways. I'll call that a challenge, and with a local towing place being only a mile up the road, I know they can be here within 5. So my petty self called up the tow company and watched their friend's beaten down Prius get pulled away off to a tow lot, waiting for a sad entitled soul to pay the $150 tow fee. TL, doctor, neighbors don't want to move their cars out of my unit spots, and started acting all entitled about it, so I got them towed after they said they won't tow in 15 minutes. Update the fallout please. I will. If I get crap from them, likely I'm thinking about a Rickroll a la Pick of Rick with you know the rules, and so do I, in block letters and just taping it on their door. Aw man, that would be absolutely legendary. Just tape it on your door so they see before they knock, if they even knock at all. Lol. I'll call that a challenge, and with a local towing place being only a mile up the road, I know they can be here within 5. I like the way you think. Please take my upvote. Same here. Pulled up after a long 14-hour shift and there was a car in my spot. Not today, Satan. Called and they hauled off that nice BMW in less than 10. You can afford to park in a marked spot that isn't yours. You can afford the tow bill. My happy ass pulled up into my cozy spot as the tow truck left a few minutes later. Oh, and I doubt it's just 150. I was feeling nosy and called the tow company the next morning to find out how much it cost to get the car out. $480. And the car was not even there for an hour. Cost of tow truck mileage, loading/unloading or some other jargon. Didn't even know they could bill for that extra charge for it being after hours, night extra charge for it being a weekend, the duration of the car on the lot less than an hour if I recall correctly. A guy I know got towed out of his girlfriend's, my friend's apartment parking lot. He caught the truck before they left the lot and paid about $150 to get them to let him have his car before they towed it away and stored it over the weekend. $480 for the loading/unloading mileage and storage sounds about right, honestly. Yeah, drop fees can be steep but still usually way cheaper than it going to a lot. Only drop fee I ever paid was $70. I had an apartment and a parking spot that I paid rent on. I was stunned seeing how people didn't seem to care about parking in my spot. All spots were marked as reserved and even had a tow company number in the sign. When I had enough, I started towing people. I lived there for a few years and towed dozens of people out of my spot. It got to the point where the leasing office called to check in because so many people had complained. Their response was perfect. You are renting these parking spots, so someone parking in your clearly marked spot is equivalent to someone standing uninvited on your apartment balcony. You're way more inconvenienced by someone parking in the spot you pay to have available for your exclusive use than by some dumbass standing on your balcony. Why would people complain to them when they're clearly in the wrong? Entitlement. What I learned as a renter who also paid rent on assigned and labeled parking is that other people and their guests feel entitled to the parking spot you're paying rent on, and they feel their friends and family are entitled to it too. In their minds, you are automatically in the wrong when you haul their crap box off so that you can park and go home after working all day. There is no practical way to explain that mindset. It defies reason. I wonder if they're going to have the stones to say anything to you. That's a great point, lol. They love to talk a big game when they think we can't hear them, hence the whole post, but they're not confrontational in the slightest, lol. Some jackwagon parked in front of the driveway at my complex blocking in 8 cars. I didn't have to go anywhere, so I smeared mayonnaise all over their windshield. I've never done this, and would never condone it, but engine treatment additive, do they still make SDP? Poured over a windshield will leave it permanently cloudy. Where I live, the insurance company will pay for a replacement the first time, but not the second. Not that I would know. I've heard brake fluid is wonderful on paint as well. Wouldn't know from experience. If you think brake fluid is great on paint, try it on their brake rotors. Lol reminds me of how we all looked the other way while a guy in the building let his girlfriend park in our limited lot. One winter day, I spent 20 minutes digging my car out with my bare hands and rain boots. Came back from the store to find her in my painstakingly cleared spot. She had the audacity to tell me finders keepers in a lot I pay to park in while she doesn't. Lol, bet, too bad the tow guy found your passless car. What they did was write a comment that already answered your question. Hey smartass, go peep yourself. Ah. Well, they were right. It wasn't 15 minutes. It was 5. Very petty. 20 minutes. Op said both in different parts of the story. Bingo. Still 5 minutes. Dude, keep having the cars towed. My husband and I live in a condo development and each unit only gets one space clearly labeled with the house number. Our space is right on the edge of the overflow parking, so we always get people parking in our spot. People we catch always go, "Oh, I didn't see the number," like really the giant painted white 75 against black asphalt was hard to see. Well, turns out the tow company that contracts with our development is the same one his buddy works at, so he has his personal cell. People learned real quick not to park there. I pay monthly for a reserved spot. The apt managers are the only people authorized to call a tow, so when they park in my spot after hours or on weekends, I'm screwed. Weird part, I don't drive. I pay for a spot so my CPTSD support person has a space to park and come straight to me if I'm in trouble. Time can be of the essence if I'm having a flashback and I need him. I don't want him dicking around looking for a spot. The last 2 times someone has been in my spot, it was a neighbor telling his booty calls to park there. One got 2 flat front tires and the other got presents from my dog smeared all over the door handle. The tires was entertaining. Driver got out of her car about 5 feet from my spot and checked her trunk. I bet her idiot lights were blinking. Tee-hee. I still wonder how far she made it on 2 flats. Poor air, it had to be released back into the wild. Worked though. I've never found someone in my spot again. Guess poopies and flats send a message. A grade petty. Love it. Update. Nothing to report yet, and I'm leaving school for a short snowboarding break with my fam tomorrow morning. But if I hear anything from my roommates, I'll edit the post for an update. So you're going to take your car to go snowboarding and leave the spot temptingly available. They'll think you're just trying to peep with them. There are 3 other roommates, each with a car. One of them would most likely park in it. I like to let the air out of one of their tires. No permanent damage but a major inconvenience. Sometimes I'll do 2 tires. Put a BB or a pebble in the valve stem dust cap. Slow leak they can't find and end up replacing tires but not the cap, and it continues for even longer. Yeah, even a half-assed mechanic or tire tech will check the valve stems if they're looking for a leak in a tire, and can't find it immediately. If you're incredibly stupid enough to replace the tire, it gets a brand new valve stem anyways. They don't reuse them. Don't just pop a loose BB in between the cap and stem. A BB inside the cap with a dot of superglue to keep it there. It doesn't depress the valve until it's screwed down. Honestly, you should tell that tow truck company you will report PPL if they give you a kickback. Get some beer money out of it too. Lamau challenge accepted. I like how you shorten not just the story, but the time in the TL. Drive. That's commitment to the cause. The neighbor should pay for their friend's tow being their lie led to the car being towed. Ha ha ha. That's awesome. Update please. Lol. I'm surprised the towing company actually came. The towing company my apartment complex uses is also about 5 minutes away, but they never come. The parking area is well known for being free parking for everyone because of it. Well, in most states what was done in this story is totally illegal. But good luck fighting with the tow truck company over it. My story is I got an app that required passes for all residents. The day I moved in they towed my car before I could go to office. It was closed and get my pass. I was so furious. And at least in Indiana the law says the car needs to be there for a certain amount of time, first 24 hurrah I believe. The legal department at the uni gave me instructions and was like, yeah, we'll totally take this to court for you. Feet those guys. Well, then it turned into a whole thing with the tow truck company saying good luck. At best this will take months and we will be holding on to your car until court ordered to return it, and if they rule in our favor you'll be charged for leaving the car here for the amount of time. Velp, I had a job to get to each day and not enough time or resources to deal with that, so they get to keep doing it. In Indiana, if a vehicle interferes physically with the conduct of normal business operations of the person who owns or controls the private property, or poses a threat to the safety or security of persons or property, it can be towed immediately. See Indiana Code 922-116. It follows that if you are renting a spot and cannot park your car there because a vehicle is in the way, it can be towed like op. The Indiana law protects you from having your car towed if you park in a mostly empty parking lot while arranging repairs, for example, or even your situation. I'm confused as to why you didn't pay to get your car back and keep suing them. At that point you'd be paying the same amount and getting that amount back, plus attorney's fees zero for you upfront presumably, but they could still get paid this way in costs, if any, and that could be increased up to 3x costs or $2,500, whichever's greater, at the court's discretion. IC 922-336. In hindsight, yeah, I totally should have. But I was a stupid undergrad that was stressed out and confused. It's been 6 years, but there was some reasoning. I'm fairly certain I remember the uni legal department telling me not to pay them any money. And then they eventually offered me to get it back for less than half the price, and I JSUT did it and moved on. Definitely want an update when or if they respond. You mentioned that them throwing parties during a pandemic is a different issue, but it really isn't. It's just another symptom of not caring about how your actions affect others. Feet M. I need closure on that. Did they find out it was you? What happened? Solid, with quick reflexes. I love you, man. I just feel bad for their friend. They're probably trusting your neighbor for information. It sucks that innocent person gets to pay the impound and towing fee. Undefined. They are marked spots. You don't park there unless you live at the addresses specified. Period. Why feel bad? They took a spot that they weren't entitled to. Fair enough. But that being said, my whole family lives 2 states away in a very large city. When we went to my uncle's apartment complex, my uncle told us to park in one of his neighbor's spots. Apparently they were cool, and only had 1 car anyway. Neighbors have different arrangements. If a friend told me their neighbor was okay with it, I'd probably park not thinking twice about it. Had a friend who lived in a place similar to Ops, who said I could park in his neighbor's spot, telling me he'd gotten permission from them beforehand, which I found out to be true. So I did, but I decided to ask them myself anyway. They said they were cool with it because they only had 1 car and 2 spaces, but they were expecting company later that same day. So I decided to move anyway to avoid issues. I think the best thing a guest can do is verify information with the owner of the parking space in question, regardless of what their friend or host tells them. Not because of distrust or anything like that, but just to be sure that you aren't causing problems for anyone. It didn't snow where he lived though, and free parking was only a few minutes extra to walk, so I didn't mind. I can't exactly relate to anybody who had to trudge through special weather conditions just to visit someone, but still,